Hey everyone, it's Andrew here at Vespa Portland. Today I'm going to be taking out this new NGT to kind of put it through some real world testing, going up some hills, going on some flats, taking it top speed, all that. It's going to be a pretty fun little ride, but the problem is I forgot the part that screws into the GoPro, so I need to head home to grab that. So the first 4 miles of this ride you're going to miss.
All right, so here we go. We started out with 885 miles on this traded in new NGT, and I'm up to 890 as of that moment, talking about the mileage. So 5 miles so far, we've dropped, it looks like 6% to 94%. Not bad. I'm gonna go get a breakfast burrito because it's that time of day and it's my Sunday. The silence of this thing is kind of a trip. It's definitely weird to not hear an engine, but kind of calming. All you really hear is the wind and everything else around you. Leaves rustling, people walking their dogs, talking. Really calm, almost like a bicycle kind of feeling, but without having to do any work. So there's a few different modes on the new. There's e-save, there's dynamic, and sport. Now, I haven't taken e-save yet because there's been cars behind me and it's clearly too slow for that sort of thing. I'm on dynamic right now. I'm full throttle, and as you can see, I'm at 29 miles an hour, and it is not doing anything beyond that. Should be no problem getting around a city, especially in a tighter downtown kind of area where people just aren't moving that quickly. But on these kind of roads like this is North Willamette. Speed limit's 30, but no one really pays attention to that up here, and the guy behind me is definitely getting a bit close. So I'm going to click into sport mode, and that's where you're going to get into the fun. So the NGT is somewhat equivalent to, like, I don't know, 110cc motorcycle maybe, or scooter. Your top speed on this thing is going to be about 45. At this moment it says I'm going 39. I'm not 100% sure if that's exactly accurate. Sometimes scooters are pitched a little quickly and it'll say you're going 30 but you're actually going 25. Now it's saying I'm up to 42. I could believe that I'm pretty close. One cool thing, once you find your kind of preferred speed, there's actually a button down here on the left hand that I'm pointing out with my thumb, and it's a cruise control function. So I'm going to drop it down to about 35 and then hit the cruise control and see how it goes. 35. All right, I'm on cruise control now. My throttle hand is completely off and I'm just going 35 miles an hour. So all right, coming into this turn, I'm going to turn off cruise control, and you can do that by just tapping the button again or just tapping your brake, and it'll just kill it off like it would in a car. So this bike, the new NIU NQiGT, I believe is now called the NQiGT. From what I've read, New got into some kind of legal trouble over using NGT. I don't know, it seems like everyone uses a combination of those letters, but all future ones are the NQi. GT, or the NQi Sport for the 50cc version equivalent, and the NQi Plus Sport. Admittedly, it's a little bit of alphabet soup in the naming convention of these things. I sort of wish it was more of a kind of a buzzword, but it is what it is. It doesn't affect the scooter. So this NQiGT scooter was traded in. The customer lived in Vancouver, Washington, and comes back and forth to Portland fairly often. And despite going 45 miles an hour, this scooter isn't really what you're going to want to use when you're on a freeway. This is something more for somebody in a kind of an urban environment all the time. We got regenerative braking turned on, which is cool. Every time I tap the brake, it'll show the icon for that right there, and then it shows you kind of how much regenerative braking is happening, and that's recharging the battery just based off your braking. So we're at 89% now and coming up right on 10 miles. I guess one thing to consider when you're looking at an electric scooter is you got to get out of the mindset of the range of an electric versus the range of a gas scooter. It's just not the same. Too many people put too much emphasis on what's the range of a scooter. The average person in a city is going to live, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 miles, maybe 5 miles away from their job, like me. And most days you're probably going to go to work, come home, and then maybe leave the house again for some food. I mean, you're talking about, in my position, 8-mile round trip a day. Now, from what I'm seeing so far with just, basic basic math, if I just rounded that up to 10, you know, I get 5 days worth of riding this thing with no issue. And at night, if I'm plugging the thing in, I mean, you're talking about basically never having a situation in your normal commute where you're going to run out of juice. Would I want to ride this to the coast? No. Sometimes on a day off, I'll ride a 100-mile round trip just to go get a burger somewhere. Not exactly what this thing is going to be used for, and so no real reason to compare it to that kind of scenario. On the subject of charging up the scooter, so the News come with chargers, as you would expect, and they have removable batteries because they realize that, you know, in a city environment, not everyone's going to have a garage or easy access to some kind of an outlet. So the batteries that come with these scooters are roughly 25 pounds, and they are completely removable. So if you live in a condo, apartment, whatever, you can just, at the end of the day, open up the battery compartment and bring that thing right inside with you, plug it into the house, and in the morning take it back downstairs and stick it in the scooter, and you're good to go. Sketchy moves here. I'm gonna park right here. That makes it real nice if you don't have a garage, because you don't have to think too much about how you're going to get the thing charged. Just pop the battery out, and the batteries are under the seat like you see here, and they actually have a charge meter. Well, you can push the button and it'll see what the state of charge is. And there's a second battery on the NGT, which is actually underneath the floorboard right here. All right, back with the scooter. This is Rose City Taqueria, by the way. It's on North Fessenden and Midway. Really great place to get a breakfast burrito with bacon, add guacamole. It's pretty much a Monday ritual for me. Problem is, on my normal scooter, I have room to put this thing. One downside to these batteries being in this underseat storage and in the floorboard is that that doesn't leave a lot of room for stuff. So you see I got a hat stuffed in here, got a few tools just in case something goes wrong with this GoPro. I guess I'll try to put it right there. It's not ideal, but I'd say if you are gonna get yourself a new, what am I doing with these sunglasses, NGT, or a new kind of a Vinny style, your best bet is to add a top case. Now this one used to have one, the customer kept it, they left the rack on here. We're gonna probably throw one on before we sell it off, maybe, I don't know. But it's worth your while to add a top case, unless you're the kind of person who carries a backpack everywhere, because your storage options that you're used to on a scooter just don't exist on the new, and that's just kind of the trade-off. You don't have to get gas, but hey, there's not a lot of room to put stuff. Budget a top case into your purchase. I think they're about $125, and then of course you got to get the rack. I don't remember the pricing on the rack. Next up, got to get some coffee. So we head over to Grindhouse on North Rosa Parks and Denver. There's actually no one behind me, so I'm going to drop down to E-Save and see what happens. 13 miles an hour. If you've been to Asia and you've gone down like some of those crazy roads where there's just so much going on, people walking in the streets, food carts, all sorts of stuff, deliveries happening, I could see this potentially being useful. But in the United States, maybe not so much. I don't know if anyone's really going to want to go 13 miles an hour through their neighborhood. This is obviously going to get you the most battery life out of your scooter, but you know, again, I don't think anyone's going to really want to go 13. So I'm going to bump up into something more realistic for our country, the dynamic mode. That's going to get us up into that 29 top speed range where I was at before. I'm full throttle right now and I'm 29. Yeah, good enough for our roads and what we're doing. Most people driving are going to be kind of used to someone going about 30 on these types of roads, so more than enough. We are now 12 miles in and 87%. So I've lost 13% and I've gone 12 miles. You can maybe hear, probably not, the turn signals make a little bit of a boom, 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 boom. How was that again? Boom, 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 boom. And as you saw, I completed the turn and they actually turned themselves off. Yes, the new has self-canceling turn signals, which is freaking awesome. You know, on a genuine scooter, you get the loud kind of ticking that you're used to in a car, which reminds you to turn them off. On a Vespa, all you get's a flashing light on the dash and you have to remember to turn it off because it makes no noise. On the new, it makes a little beeping sound, and I guess the accelerometer in the scooter similar to how your phone would go vertical to horizontal when you turn it. It knows when you completed the turn, and it turns the turn signal off for you. Pretty fantastic. Of course, you can actually still push in on it like normal on any other scooter, turn it off yourself, but there's really no need. Kind of makes me a lazy rider. So there's no real good way to show it in broad daylight, but this scooter comes with LED lights front and back. You got LED headlight, LED tail light, LED brake light, super bright too back there. If you want to get even brighter, you got a high beam option, of course, as you do on any kind of scooter. That's going to show up with this high beam indicator on the dash. You have got turn signals right below that on the left side, and then below that you have a horn. I don't really want to hit that yet because everyone's going to think I'm honking at them. An additional thing on the left side, which we talked about, was the cruise control button, which is right here next to the horn. And actually around the front of the scooter on the left hand grip, you actually have a little button to flash your high beam. On the right side of the handlebars, you've got your mode switch. Hitting this plus or minus will take you between dynamic, e-save, and sport mode. You've also got a kill switch, just like you have on in most other scooters and motorcycles. You have hazard lights, which will flash all of your turn signals at the same time. And of course, an electric start to get into this ready mode so you can actually ride. I'm going to switch lanes here and see if it notices that I did that. So in this situation, just a lane change, you haven't made a full turn, so the scooter doesn't realize that you've done the maneuver and does not cancel the turn signal for you, so I just pressed in and canceled it myself. Something I don't think I would particularly use on an electric scooter, but does exist if you want it, is a USB port, and it's right down here. Charge your phone. I would personally want to keep all the battery power I could get for riding, but you know, cell phone probably doesn't draw too much, so maybe it's not a big deal there. And you also have a little bag hook that pops out here. Doesn't help me in the case of the burrito because it's a little paper bag with no handle. I don't have it paired at the moment, but there is a app that comes with, or that you can download for your NIU. And underneath your seat, there's a QR code. All you have to do is scan that thing, opens up your app, and then you kind of bind to your scooter. Now, your local dealer, us included, will not know much about that app, because once you bind into that app, the clock starts ticking, and you get, I believe it's 2 years worth of that app service, which shows you all sorts of stats, top speed, all the routes you've taken, distance, any other kind of stat that comes along with it. And the clock starts ticking as soon as they go into that. So if we bound with the app and then somebody bought the scooter a month later, well, they lose a month of their time, which kind of sucks for the customer. So point is, you get 2 years worth of, I think it's Teletronics is what they call it, and it's just kind of a GPS enabled cloud that watches your scooter, watches what you're doing with it, and it actually can even help you if in case of a theft. It will mark down, it's active, it marks where your scooter is on a map, and if it's, you know, moved, I believe it sends you a notification, and you can just kind of open up your app there and see where it's gone and go retrieve it if some scoundrel takes it from you. The scooter also has a alarm feature, which is right down here on this key. Once we're stopped, you push the little key fob and it'll make a little clicky, kind of robotic buzzy sound, and indicating that your scooter is safe. Alright, we're pulling right up here to Grindhouse Coffee. I'm gonna go to my normal parking spot right here. Turn signal turned off again for me. Love that. All right, got some coffee beans. They fit right in the spot where the burrito used to. All right, get moving again. We're now at 899 miles, 92%. Honk at these guys. It's the old daily show of solidarity for the Black Lives Matter movement up here in North Portland. Got to honk when you go by that. All right, heading west now. So now I'm kind of out of ideas. So I think I'll just take like Germantown Skyline back toward downtown. So that's about 20 miles, I think, from this point. We're at 92%, still rolling. Scooter's real smooth, feels great. Super silent. Amanda just rode the thing. She's got a Kimco, a really older Kimco, and she hopped on here and she's like, whoa, this thing is super smooth and super quiet and super peppy. So accessory wise, the customer before who had this scooter added this windscreen on it. This is a new windscreen. Fits right onto the mirror mounts here. Alright, once again I'm on cruise control. Hand is totally off the throttle. So the scooter is pretty well waterproofed. The switches, the body work, all the major wiring is definitely tucked away. Alright, I probably said it 5 times by now, but I really like this cruise control feature. Man. But yeah, it's super quiet. It's really relaxing. Just kind of feels, I don't know how to explain it. It's just really calming sensation to ride this thing around. Could also be the burrito I just had and the coffee. Put me in a good mood. Up to 18 miles, 87%. Chances are I'm already over what the average person would be doing on a normal commute. Going back to charging for a second. If you have a garage with a power outlet, you can just leave the batteries in the scooter and just plug them in via this little plug that's under the seat. You can plug the charger directly into that and it'll charge both batteries via that plug. Charging is going to take roughly 6 hours on this particular model. I think it has a fast charge where it gets it up to something like 70-ish percent, 80% in 3 hours, 4 hours, something like that. And then it finishes off the charge in about 6. They do not recommend that you leave your charger plugged in for more than 12 hours. So not recommended to store your battery for long periods of time below 20% charge or above 80% charge. So you just kind of want to keep using the scooter, keep riding the thing, and kind of keep it between those percentages to maximize your battery life. You know, in a rainy environment like a Portland to Seattle, not everybody rides in the winter. There's a good amount of people who commute all year long because there's a lot of bike commuters up here that would ride in the rain, so what's the big difference to ride a scooter? But if you're not one of those folks, then you know you can just kind of put this scooter in your garage, every now and then go check on what the battery is. If it's getting a little low, it's dropping toward the 20% range, maybe toss it on the charger, bring it up somewhere between 20 and 80, and then just let it sit a little longer. And you know, unlike a gas scooter, like some of the carbureted gas scooters, you have to ride those or they clog up on you and you got to go get a carburetor clean and all that. None of that to deal with here. No gas at all. Obviously, it's an electric scooter, so kind of works real well for people who aren't going to ride all year long, or maybe you know, one thing we see a lot is people who get a scooter kind of for a vacation home, maybe at the Oregon coast or whatever. You can leave the scooter there, take the batteries back to your own house here in Portland or whatever, and just, you know, maintain them there. And when you want to go back out to the coast again when it's nice weather and ride, just bring the batteries with you, plop them into the scooter, and you're set to go. And you know it's going to turn on, you know it's going to run. There's not going to be any, you know, issues with clogged carburetor, bad gas, none of that stuff. You know, stuff all kind of goes away. So the electric scooter world really opens up some possibilities where there might have been some obstacles previously. All right, now heading up Germantown Road. If you ride a scooter in Portland, you're probably pretty familiar with this. I'm at 26. I'm in dynamic mode, so full throttle's getting me about 26 miles an hour. Good enough. I'm not really in a race here. Oh, this is a good time to try the horn out. All right, now you've heard it and no one's angry at me. We're at the steeper part of Germantown right now. At full throttle in the dynamic mode, I'm at 22 miles an hour. I guess I should just bump into sport and see what happens. So now I'm into sport. We're heading up toward a curve, but the scooter's definitely accelerating, definitely climbing. You know, it's doing just fine. Yeah, it's getting up into the 30s and definitely feel the pull. All right, so getting to the top of Germantown now, about to take a left on Skyline. I am now down to 78%. So that definitely took some battery out of it. 78%, and I'm on about 907 miles now, so I'm 22 miles into this ride. 77% down. You know, it's still kind of in line with, you know, about 1% a mile. It's kind of impressive, honestly. And the new is just humming along. It's real comfortable. I'm 6 foot tall, and the seat, pretty nice, squishy. pretty comfortable leg position. That's nice. I think I'm probably going to put something like 50 miles on this thing today, my wild guess. And 22 in, I can tell you that I don't have any kind of like desire to get off this thing like right now, you know. Holy crap. Jesus. All right, don't tell the police, but pretty sure I just read 50 on that speedometer a little while back there. It was just kind of cruising through the turns, and there's a slight downhill. Pull up into this cemetery real quick and get a couple videos of this thing. Watch out if you come ride this, there's gravel right here all the time. Not a bad view of Beaverton and out to the west. So you got two options when you park the scooter. You got a side stand right there, and you have a center stand. I'm not much of a side stand guy in general. I just feel like they're not super sturdy. I'm more of a center stand kind of guy, where it's just a little more sturdy because you got 2 points of contact. But for something quick, side stand might get it done for you. Just watch where you're parking. You might have some loose dirt, and your scooter could fall right over. Up here in the cemetery, not creepy at all. And I'm going to continue heading on Skyline. This thing has been fun up here. It's really nice to see the electric scooters kind of getting into the higher speeds, the 45 range, which of course means you're going to need a motorcycle endorsement to legally operate this thing. But, you know, they're just inching closer to being equivalent to gas. You know, there's the Zero electric motorcycle. That thing just completely hauls ass. If you nail the throttle on that, it's just an arm stretcher. You know, you're flying. Scooters are going to get there someday. Coming down the hill toward Burnside, I'm kind of dragging the back brake ever so slightly, and the regenerative braking light keeps coming on with kind of a meter of how much regeneration I'm getting. It's kind of in the lower quarter. 30 miles. I'm down to 65%. This particular hill is 40 miles an hour. This is an 8% grade for the next 2 miles. Actually, I think I'm going to take advantage of this because no one's behind me. I'm just going to hold the brakes a little bit, regenerate some battery. Going through this tunnel. The brakes are almost too good because they're both, you know, the disc brake front and back, they almost slow me down too much. Crazy thing about Portland, man. It feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, and pretty soon here we'll be right into downtown. Really big fan of this thing. I didn't really have a lot of chance to ride the new NGT. I'm a believer in this thing, and kind of any electric scooter that can go this speed. You know, the Vespa Electrica's out now. It also goes 45. It's going to be a little better looking, in my opinion, because Vespa's just, you know, they're just gorgeous. The Electrica is kind of on the Primavera chassis, and so it's just pretty. But that scooter's going to get 45 as well. All right, little battery swap for the GoPro. And we're back in action. So downtown Portland now, and still 63%, 33 miles. Just kind of getting a feel for what it's like in a downtown scenario. So I'm back in dynamic mode. Kind of comfortable cruising speed right now downtown, 20. I'm going to drop into eSave and see how that goes. Maybe this is fine for it. Alright, eSave, full throttle. 13 as we've seen. Not too bad for, you know, going red light to red light to red light. Alright, I'm going to go back into dynamic mode. So the motor on the scooter is made by Bosch. It's German made, and the batteries are made by Panasonic. Pretty cool that, you know, NIU took the time to get two reputable companies. I don't think there's any question of reliability with Bosch and Panasonic. A little off topic, you might see on the news that we're like under like non-stop riots or something. This part of downtown, Southwest Main and 4th, this is where all of that happens. All the protesting happens pretty much down here, and it's these 2 blocks. So I don't know, don't believe everything you see on the news. The city is definitely not under siege, or, you know, whatever, however they're reporting it. You know, some people are mad, they're out protesting. Sometimes things get a little out of hand, but It's pretty much this. That's all it is. Not exactly a dangerous place to be still, despite what the news might tell you. All right, crossing the Morrison Bridge now, heading east. I'm gonna go up into those neighborhoods. Maybe I'll head over to Mount Tabor. Oh, no. Apparently the bridge is closing, probably to be raised. I'm not dealing with that. Bye. Perk of a scooter, huh? Get back to sport mode, going up this hill. I think you'll probably bounce back and forth a bunch between dynamic and sport, depending on your situation. And I've been doing that for the last couple hours or so. So as of the time of this video, the new NGT comes in black with a white stripe, like this particular scooter I'm sitting on. Black with a red stripe, and white with a red stripe. We are recording this in August 2020, and at the moment, I think Genuine is completely out of new scooters. So of course I'm making a video for a scooter that in the short term you might not be able to get. But New is definitely bringing over more things. There's, you know, containers on the water all the time. So shortly, you know, not too long from now, there should be more available. We just had 3 or 4 at our shop and sold through all of them in about 2 weeks. Here's a roundabout at Gleason and what used to be 39th, Cesar Chavez now. It's a beautiful neighborhood. A lot of massive homes over here. Portland is a beautiful place to take a ride. It's a beautiful place when the sun is out. I mean, it's nice when it's raining too, but this is when it's tip top. Just cruising around on a day off. Nothing really to do. Casually shoot a review video of a scooter. Just kind of enjoy the day. And solo. You know, in a time of a pandemic, maybe you have to go back to work. And maybe you took a bus to work. Maybe that's not an option for you now. Maybe you took a train to work. Like, I'm gonna pass on that. I'll go myself in my own helmet. It's a nice way to get around solo. A lot of jobs around town here offer free parking for scooters where you have to pay if you show up in a car. There are parking garages downtown where multiple customers of ours have told us that it's free to park in them with a scooter, as long as you don't take up a car space. You just put it where it fits, kind of between the last car space and the wall, and you know, and then you're good. You can park for free at the airport in Portland for a few days, up to I think 7 days, before you need to call them and tell them you're going to be there longer. There's a lot of perks of riding a scooter. It's fun. It's cheap, especially in this situation where you have no gas, and you get some parking perks and, you know, busy streets, Division, Alberta, Mississippi, Belmont, all that. You know, finding a parking spot is not hard, because you need like 3 feet of room at tops to park. It's just easy to put these things anywhere. And the rest of the world's kind of known that forever. Asia, Europe, that concept's kind of just getting over here. I think people are starting to see these as more of a viable way to get around, especially people who live in a city. You don't need a car most of the time. You know, I own a car. Most of the time it's just me in it. You know, what am I really doing in that thing? Not carrying anything. Today I went and got a burrito, coffee, and then got some coffee beans. All that stuff fit right into the scooter. If you want to, you could carry a passenger on this scooter. There are fold-out foot pegs on the sides of it, and there's room on the seat behind the rider. So far I'm about 40 miles into my ride. I think, again, well beyond what someone's going to probably do in a normal course of their day. And the battery's only dropped to 52%. So it looks like at the moment, probably trending right along with what New is saying this scooter's probably going to get, about 80 miles range per charge, which, you know, 6 hours, you get 80 miles out of it. That's not bad at all. That's multiple days of commuting, or it's maybe 1 day of just fun messing around town with no real plan, like I'm doing. All right, I'm out here at 82nd and Gleason. For people not from Portland, many people in Portland feel like this is the end of the earth. This is where you fall off the cliff. 82nd. It's a lot of good Asian food out here and a lot of used car lots. Beyond 82nd is kind of where people start to pick up the speed a little more. It gets a little more lawless in terms of speed limits, less sidewalks, that sort of thing. But with the 45 mile an hour of the capability of the new, I'm not really worried about it out here. I will say, in the right angle, the sunlight coming off of this dashboard screen is pretty damn blinding. But just heading east Portland now on Halsey, see where we end up. One interesting little thing about this new is if you're holding a brake and you hit the throttle, it won't do anything. It won't move at all. You have to be off of the brakes for the throttle to work, at least from a dead stop. I guess I can see why you would want that, but there's some cases where, like, if you're on a hill, you'd probably want kind of the stability of a brake as you're about to take off. So something to be aware of. Totally normal operation. If you're holding a brake and you hit the throttle, nothing happens. Come off the brake and it works. So one kind of neat thing, since we're over here, that's the 205 freeway, and it also continues that way, as you can see. There's a little neighborhood over here called Maywood Park. You can see it right there. It says entering Maywood Park. This is actually its own city within Portland city limits. Kind of a cool historic thing, just obviously not related to this scooter at all, but since we're over here, it's kind of a cool little local history thing. The people who lived in this area were opposed to the 205 freeway coming through, and in an attempt to stop it from being built, which obviously was in vain, they incorporated and became their own city of Maywood Park. The city of Maywood Park has its own mayor. It is not part of the Portland Police Bureau's area. It's patrolled by the sheriff if they have any problems. I'm pretty sure the fire departments are just part of the Multnomah County ones. But yeah, you can see 1967, city of Maywood Park. It says Maywood on the backside of this hill, kind of like Hollywood. It's kind of funny. But yeah, it's just a bunch of cool little houses, and there's kind of a neat feel in here. It almost feels like you're like in a mountain town once you actually cut in, because despite there being a freeway right there, it's super quiet in here. And I think one of the concessions that they didn't get the freeway stopped, obviously, but they weren't supposed to be able to see it from anywhere in Maywood Park, and obviously it's on the other side of that hill, and it's sunken down a little bit, and so that was some of the concessions they got, despite 205 being built. Anyway, we'll head into Maywood Park. This is in the 102nd and Fremont area. We'll get you close. You can check it out on a map. But yeah, it's just like a really quiet place. Cool homes, and it's its own city. Although there's really nothing other than homes here. There's a Mount Hood Community College, I think, on one of the corners. Just feels like a really small town in here. And it's like totally silent. You can't hear the freeway at all. All right, at the corner of Sandy and Northeast Prescott Street, right over here by Rocky Butte. This is just going to shoot us back all the way to MLK. I'm going to slip into dynamic mode and just set the cruise control. That glorious, glorious cruise control. You know, this could be the scooter that solves all your issues. If you're looking for a different way to get around the city, you know, limit your footprint, your dependence on fossil fuels. Obviously, you know, there's fuels involved in building this thing and getting it shipped, but I guess at least you're not using any. So we should talk DMV real quick. The DMV fees in Oregon, at least, are going to vary by county, which county you live in, and what kind of vehicle you're buying. So if it's a gas vehicle, it's anywhere between $266 for 4 years of registration if you live kind of out of the main 3 counties, and then $334 and $342 if you're in Clackamas, Washington, and Multnomah, in that order. Now those bump up a bit for any electric scooter or electric car. The reason being, you're never going to be getting gas, and so you'll never be paying gas tax. So instead of you paying gas tax slowly but surely on a gas vehicle at the pump, they instead get that money out of you up front at your registration. So I can't remember exactly, and I obviously can't really look at my phone while I'm riding, but I think the 4-year registration on this is about $420. If that's incorrect, I will slap a title over this video and tell you the real price by county. You know, it is what it is. Eventually, if you own this thing for long enough, you're going to, you know, more than break even, probably go into full profitability on not having to get gas. Even though gas on an electric or a gas scooter is only like, you know, it's less than $5 a fill up. So it's going to take a while, but eventually. All right. Back kind of in the center of town. I'm at MLK and Prescott at the moment. I'm at 933 miles. So started at 885. I am coming up on 50 miles, just 2 miles away from now. 50 miles and I'm at 37% of charge. So for some kind of real world comparison of what that is, Salem, I think from downtown Portland, Salem, Oregon is like 42 miles away. I could have ridden to Salem. There's no question that I'm going to get well past 60 miles on this ride. That is probably, that's equivalent to what, riding to Hood River. Obviously you're not going to do that on 84 on this scooter, but if there was a surface street that followed 84, could have rode Portland to Hood River on a single charge, and still had some to spare once you got there. Butt test still feels decent. I don't feel like I need to get off this thing and stretch. So the seat's still comfortable. 50 miles in, everything's kind of rolling pretty well. Scooter still feels good. I've been operating it mostly in dynamic mode this whole time, kind of going through town at, you know, 29 miles an hour. It's been perfect. I'm pacing the lights easily, keeping up with traffic. No one's getting fired up at me. So 36% now. Just gonna kind of keep seeing how it's going. Of course, there's kind of the mental, you know, side that now kicks in, like, oh my god, 36%. How quickly is it going to drop? And am I going to be stranded? But I'm trying to like kind of think past that. From the Alibi Tiki Bar, where we're going to head in a second here, it's mostly downhill to get back to the Vespa Portland. Yeah, at this point, I would really recommend this scooter. I'm kind of completely sold on it. It's quick on the downhills. It's nimble. It takes the hills real well. It's got more than enough speed for the city. It's seems pretty solid. Can't really complain about anything. $937 miles, 31% charge. Right. For the moment, I'm going to kind of take the pause of the video. Be back in a bit. Alright, good time for the Alibi as always. Saw a buddy I hadn't seen in like over 8 months or something crazy. Time flies. Anyway, that's about time to head back to the shop, drop this bike off, get it charging again, grab my own scooter and head home. But yeah, we're a 50 plus mile day, so I'm a believer in the new. Beforehand, you know, I had a little short test ride, kind of got to see a little bit of what it had to offer. Whoa, what happened? Just a second ago we're at the Alibi, now we're at Vespa Portland on a completely different scooter. Well, went through the third GoPro battery, that's what happened. So anyway, was kind of given like an outro, and then yeah, the GoPro died. So here I am, 4-ish miles down the road. Ended the ride 55 miles on the dot. It was at like 20 something percent, 27, 29, something like that. I'm convinced that's a great scooter. You know, it's one thing to kind of be able to rattle off a spec sheet and you know, obviously talk to the obvious benefits of a scooter, but it's another to put 55 miles on it and kind of see what it's capable of. It pulled the hills just fine. We went up Germantown, which is a pretty steep hill, no problem at all. It was totally silent throughout the whole day, which was kind of a different riding experience than I've been used to with scooters with engines. Not necessarily that scooters are so loud or anything, but just had a calming effect. It's just a comfortable ride. If there's anything to complain about whatsoever, it's the kind of lack of storage, but you can fix that by just adding a rack and a top case. I think 45 miles an hour is perfectly adequate for getting around a city. I had no issues with anybody kind of honking at me or holding up traffic or anything like that. It just did great. And it's electric, so you know, if limiting your carbon footprint, using less fossil fuels is right up your alley, there you go. Can't really say much better about it. It was a good experience, comfortable scooter, and did exactly what I was asking it to do. So the new, if you're looking to go electric, the new NQiGT or the upcoming NQiGTS, which is going to have a higher seat height due to slightly larger wheels. It's definitely something you should look at. Worthwhile competitor to the Vespa Electrica, and it kind of comes down to aesthetics and your budget. But in short, it's about 55 miles distance of Portland to Hood River, and had some battery life to spare. So yeah, I think it was overall a pretty fun day. Nice way to spend a day off, and cool to see what that scooter could do. The future is electric, folks, whether you like it or not. That's what's happening, and it looks like companies like NIU and Vespa are kind of paving the way on making scooters that are going to fit right into that world. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment below if you have a NIU, if you're thinking about getting a NIU, if you got any questions specifically about the NIU, things that I forgot, whatever. Leave that below. Hit that subscribe button, and we'll talk with you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.